Hey everyone, this is Kelsey Balt. Welcome to Devoted Cowgirl, a podcast where I talk about my life as a Christian horsewoman. Every week we'll dive into topics like growing your faith, improving your barrel racing, and how those things intertwine in my life. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm super glad you're here. What's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of Devoted Cowgirl. I am super stoked because I got some new equipment, so hopefully this will sound better than when I was recording in my car. That just means I won't be able to do it on the fly. But this week, I want to talk to you guys about paying attention to your horses. I rode last weekend at a WHO show and did epically fantastic. But I also had some epically not fantastic runs in a couple of my events. And I talked to my mom about it a while ago at one of the last shows I went to. She asked me why I had a bad intern on Stella and in polls, and she asked me why I decided to just walk out of the arena and call it quits versus taking that opportunity to go slow. And I told her that I decided to do it that way because I have learned my horse, and I learned that schooling her would do absolutely no good in that situation because she was already wound pretty tight that day. And if I tried to go do slow work and make her do it right, I was just going to get upset and she was going to get upset and we were going to devolve and it was just going to get worse and worse. So I decided to just walk out. And there were a couple runs this last weekend that I did the same thing in polls. It usually happens in polls because that event's so long that it's easy to just stop and walk out. The other events are pretty quick, so they're over and done with before you know what the heck happened. But I am proud of myself for realizing that schooling on your horse when you go to town doesn't always do you any good. And sometimes you're better off just walking away and coming back the next day or the next weekend. And that paid off really well. The first weekend I did it because Stella went 5A the next day. And this last weekend, the thing that I did this time that I haven't really ever done before is I scratched events in the middle of the day just because I didn't need to run them. And so I went into the weekend with 4 goals. I wanted to go A in figure 8 on Blitzen, which needed 1 run. I wanted to get 1 more good flag time for my average on Blitzen, for my interstate average. I wanted to get 1 more pole time on Stella for my interstate average, and I wanted to get 1 more good time in keyhole for Stella on my interstate average. And I got Blitzen went A in figure 8 on Sunday morning. We got our flag run done on Saturday, and Stella got her keyhole run done on Saturday. Poles was not good all weekend, but I got 3 for 4. And so after I ran figure 8 and bi-wrangle on Blitzen on Sunday, well, what did I run? Figure 8, poles, and bi-wrangle on Sunday morning, I decided, you know what? I don't need to run flags and keyhole. And my horses worked really hard yesterday, so I'm just going to go scratch them because running them isn't going to do me well, it could have done me good, but I didn't need to go make the run. And if there's one thing that I have learned from losing Slinky or losing the ability to compete on Slinky is realizing that you only have so many runs before you don't get to run anymore. And so I really have learned to appreciate every single run that I have and make every single run count. So that's another reason why when I have a bad end turn or the first part of my run just goes to heck in a handbasket, that I just cut my losses and walk away, because finishing the run isn't going to get me anything except for more wear and tear on my horse and a little bit of frustration. So I have learned that sometimes it's better to just walk away and save your horse for another time. And so that's something that I want to remind you guys, that this stuff we get to do, this barrel racing life that we live, is a privilege. And the fact that these 1,000, 1,100, 12-pound, wow, 12-pound, they're a little bit bigger than 12 pounds. 1,000, 1,100 pounds, 1,200-pound animals let us get on their back and guide them through these patterns at 30 plus miles an hour is just insane. And so if we can learn to appreciate every run that we have and recognize that running them 2 times in every event, twice a weekend, is probably not good for them, then we get to pull them out and we can let them rest. And the amount of time that has taken me to realize is sad, I guess. I don't know. But when I was younger, I wouldn't have had the maturity to recognize, my horse has worked really hard. I don't need to go make these runs, so I'm just going to scratch. I might lose out on a few bucks. It's WHO. It was like $8 to not make those runs that I made. So it wasn't a big deal, and I'm glad that I did it because when I came back in barrels, they were a little bit more fresh. They hadn't run a whole bunch that day, and I felt really good about my decision. And that's another thing. Detour. If you guys listen for any time, you know that this is standard for my podcast. They just kind of go all over the place. But detour. And I just forgot where my detour was going. So, wow. Thanks for listening, guys. But developing the maturity to realize that you don't have to go make every single run that you enter is a huge part of becoming a horsewoman, horseman, whoever's listening to this. And like when you make that realization that you can lose entry fees if it's going to be safer for your horse, that is a huge step in your horsemanship journey. And it's a much harder step to take when you have to turn out of a barrel race or a rodeo. Luckily, I haven't had to do that and lose my money, but there have been a few barrel races that I have had to submit a vet notice and draw out because my horse wasn't 100%. It's way easier to make that decision in WHO because, hey, it's $2 and you don't have to worry about it so much. But same goes, it's WHO. You have the potential to very much run your horse into the ground if you want to, and nobody's going to stop you. So for those that don't know, WHO is Western Horsemen of Oregon, and we compete in pattern speed horse events. There are 5 individual events, and you can run in them 2, sometimes 3 times in a day in each event. And then on top of that, we have team events. So it can be a very long day. I think for other parts of the country, they call it Omoxie, or it's similar to Omoxie or Gymkhana stuff. So it's different timed events. We don't just run barrels, but it's a great association, but it does give you the opportunity to overwork your horse. And that's where having the brains to decide, my horse gets really, really amped by the end of the day if I make 5 runs in a day. So I'm just going to run barrels and 2 other events every day. Or each day. So that's what I did with Stella. Even before I was trying to go 5A, I would run barrels. Well, for a while I was running all 5 events, but by the time we got to the 4th and 5th events, she was checked out and I was tired of dealing with her, and it just never went well. So I decided to run barrels because she's a barrel horse. And then on Saturdays, I would run figure 8 and poles with barrels. And then on Sundays, I would do barrels, and then I would do keyhole and flags. So then I was only running 3 times a day instead of 5. And so to people that run WHO, if you're listening to this, don't be afraid to not run everything every day. And I know some people are chasing points, but you don't have to enter all the events. You can pick and choose, which I'm sure you know. But anyways, just mainly, I just wanted to remind you guys to pay attention to your horses and what they need. Sometimes they don't need to run that weekend. Or like Stella, who I'm talking about a lot because she's my problem child or my difficult child. Stella, when she's in heat, is just, she's a pain in the rear. And we always get in arguments when I ride her when she's in heat. And she's pretty sore in her back. And I don't blame her because I don't feel real great when it's my time of the month either. So I always try to go a little bit easy on her when she's in heat, or maybe give her a little bit of Banamine if I'm going to run her, just to, not because I'm trying to run her and she's injured, but like, I'm 30 now, and if I were to go play a game of basketball, I would probably take a couple ibuprofen beforehand. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to walk afterwards. And so if it can make her more comfortable, I might give her a little bit of Banamine before I run her, or give her some no drama paste that's by CEP. And, but when I'm at home, if she needs exercised and she's in heat and I know that we're just going to butt heads, or she's exceptionally special that day, I will ride Blitzen and I will pony Stella so that she doesn't have to deal with me sitting on her back, sitting on her ovaries, poking her where it hurts, and then asking her to perform on top of it. That's just something that it's taken me a while to figure out, but it's easier on everybody if I just let her be who she's going to be and give her the opportunity to still get exercised, but I don't have to sit on her and bug her about it. So, like I said, this week is just a reminder to put the horse first and pay attention to what your horse needs. If they need to not run, or you need to go inner and walk a pattern, or you need to just go time only, or haul to a barrel race and not actually run, if you need to draw out, all of those things that I've touched on this week, I just pay attention to your horse and put the horse first, because they could kill us if they wanted to very easily, but they don't. And they put their trust in us. And they trust us that we're not going to send them out there on crappy ground. And they trust us that when they're tired or they're overworked or they're body sore, that we'll know that and help them through it. So develop that relationship with your horse. Pay attention to them when they're trying to tell you something. And remember to strive for progress, not perfection. That's what I have for you guys this week. I will talk to you next week for another episode of Devoted Cowgirl. Love y'all. See you later. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review on your listening app of choice. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can also check out our website, www.devotedcowgirl.com, for any important show notes and some other updates. I'll see you next week.